It is good to have so many participants and so much interest at this event on the risk related to exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals. I see policymakers and experts from member states, representatives from the Commission and EFSA, and I also see scientists, academics, industry groups, and NGOs. Today we have all the classic ingredients for an intensive debate. Signals from science, increasing public and political concern, and maybe doubts from some stakeholders. Exposure to EDCs is a global issue of concern due to the negative effect on human and on the environment. Exposure to the chemicals, especially during prenatal and postnatal stages, has been linked to the development of endocrine disease and disorders. I have closely followed this issue since my arrival at the European Parliament. On 13 February 2015, I presented an oral question on the criteria for identifying endocrine disrupting chemicals. This oral question was debated in plenary in March in Strasbourg with Commissioner Andriukaitis, who guaranteed that, and I quote, I will do my job very seriously, in full transparency and without compromise on health. Today we have the opportunity to discuss about EDCs directly with the scientific experts and with the Commission. This will allow us to know more about the state of science of EDCs and the criteria needed to identify these substances. We will also discuss about the necessary next step for their correct regulation. We all know that EDCs can be found amongst others in spray fruits and vegetables, plastics, bottles, cosmetics, toys, clothing and cleaning products. The World Health Organization has highlighted many times the risk they pose to human health, as well as the European Environment Agency, which highlighted the risk to the environment. EDCs have become a key challenge for European health and environment policies. However, the time plan for action is being continuously delayed. We cannot wait any longer. The time for political action has come. The European Union should act to reduce exposure to EDCs. Even if we don't have all the answers, we do know enough to regulate these substances in accordance with the precautionary principle. Regarding the Commission's ongoing impact assessment on criteria to identify EDCs, I would like to share 3 concerns with you. My first concern refers to the cost of inaction. I think that DG Santé should consider not only the cost to industry due to action, but also the cost to society due to inaction. My second concern refers to the 4 criteria options for determination of EDCs. The current impact assessment includes criteria options that will fail to detect all EDCs, and therefore the use of some of these chemicals will continue threatening public health and the environment. I think that option 1, which calls for no policy change, is totally absurd, because the current interim criteria overlook chemicals that contribute to endocrine-associated diseases. My third concern refers to the approach chosen by DG Santé that doesn't include the cocktail effect. which can be much larger than the effect of each of the single substances. If DG Santé undertakes a strict reductionist approach, which doesn't take into consideration the cocktail effect, this will contradict essential points in the report of WHO on EDCs. In that report, the nature of EDCs and blind spots in epidemiological and toxicological evidence led the World Health Organization to conclude, and I quote, "A focus on linking one EDC to one disease severely underestimates the disease risk from mixture of EDCs." Let me remind you that mixtures of EDCs include not only mixtures among pesticides, but also mixtures between, for example, pesticides, industrial chemicals, cosmetics, and food packaging chemicals. Now, as everybody knows, the ball is in the court of the European Commission, and in particular DG Santé, which has a moral obligation to select the right criteria for identifying EDCs in order to properly protect the consumers and the environment. I am glad to have the opportunity to co-chair this event with Eric Sandberg, who will guide the more scientific aspects given the complexity of this issue. Eric is one of the best EDCs experts and is currently working as scientific officer at the Swedish Chemical Agency. Let me remind you that Sweden sued the European Commission over delays to rules on EDCs. We should thank Sweden, which succeeded with its court case to put more pressure on the European Commission in order to make it act on EDCs. I feel therefore lucky today to co-chair this meeting with the Swedish expert. Before giving the floor to Angeliki Lysimachou, an environmental toxicologist working for PAN Europe, who coordinates the campaign on EDCs and co-organized this meeting here at the European Parliament, let me conclude my speech by quoting once again Commissioner Andriukaitis. He said during last EDCs debate in Strasbourg that there will be no compromise on health. I say that there cannot be any compromise in health. This must be our governing principle. And this is the reason why we are all here this afternoon. Thank you. And now I will give the floor to Angeliki, that I would like to thank once again for her efforts.